Best places to retire in Cambodia. This is Dan of Vagabond Awake, the YouTube channel for Vagabond Buddha. We just completed touring around Cambodia. We surveyed the top spots in Cambodia where Western expats like to live or retire cheap. Today I will tell you my top 3 favorites. After I tell you my top 3, I'll explain why they made the top 3. Then I'll explain how and why others may rank them differently than I did. Okay, here we go. Here are my top 3 favorite places to retire in Cambodia. Number 1, Siem Reap. Number 2, Kampot. And number 3, Battambang. Now that you know my top 3 favorites in Cambodia, let me explain why they are my favorites. I've ranked these 3 according to my preferences as a cultural explorer, but you might be more interested in other criteria like action adventures or rural self-reliance. In that case, I recommend other destinations below, but first, a little about why you should listen to me. I saved and invested heavily in real estate and was getting nearly ready for early retirement when the market crashed in 2008. Within a year, my real estate had dropped by about 40%, so early retirement looked hopeless. Luckily, my job allowed me to travel the world for the last decade, 65 countries so far. As I traveled, I identified places around the world where I could retire for half as much money as I thought I would need in the US. I call these places the best retire cheap in paradise locations in the world. I learned that I could live on half as much money as I thought I would need in the US. But even better than that, I learned that living internationally 11 plus months of the year was more exciting, more interesting, and more fun than hanging out in my home country. So in 2016, I started Vagabond Buddha to share this information with you. I've already published more than 50 Retire Cheap reports, all over the world. Although my Retire Cheap reports are worldwide, one of the places I have been visiting almost every year is Southeast Asia. Additionally, I just spent the last year touring around Southeast Asia, including Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, and Malaysia. I travel all over the world and pick the best places to retire cheap. No matter where we go in the world, I rank everything by the same criteria. Today we are ranking the best place to retire in Cambodia. Next week, I will share my favorite places to retire in Southeast Asia, considering it as a whole. And next month, I will share my best places to retire in the world, considering it as a whole. I do one of those per year. I'm now showing you videos and photos I took last month touring around Cambodia while I talk about how I picked the best places here. But don't write anything down. Everything I discuss in this video is in writing. Just click the More Information link in the notes below this YouTube video for Google Maps and links to everything I discuss about Cambodia, Southeast Asia, or the rest of the world. Here's why you may need to refer to the More Information link below. Your favorite place in Cambodia might be different from mine. What attracts me to one place may not be interesting to you. So along with my ranking of favorite places, I've included a link to my detailed reports about each place. If you know each report's reasoning, you'll be able to adjust my favorites more closely to your own unique style and needs. Also, there are YouTube videos embedded in each report. In the videos, you'll see me walking around each place, talking about what I like about each or not. I intend to give you enough information so you can reorder my favorites based upon your needs, not mine. But bubbling the best ones to the top, you'll be able to eliminate many from your short list. That will save you time and money when you take a retirement tour to investigate further. Let me explain the 3 different ranking criteria I used to bubble the best ones to the top. 3 different ranking criteria. I'm more of a city guy that loves culture. I like museums, art galleries, live music, international foods, street art, youth culture, the university atmosphere, and public transportation. I prefer to live in areas where cultural experiences are walkable from where I live. I call someone like me a cultural explorer. Other people prefer action sports like mountain or rock climbing, surfing, wind or kite surfing, riding horses, zip line, snowboarding, skiing, or skydiving. I call someone like that an active adventurer. Other people enjoy growing their own organic food, living in rural areas with some distance from their nearest neighbor, and studying survivalist techniques. I call someone like this rural self-reliance. We're all not the same, so I'm providing information to you to help you find your own best personal place in Cambodia. Okay, now that you know my criteria for ranking the best place, here are the retirement places we ranked in Cambodia. Retirement places ranked in Cambodia. Here are the top places we ranked for best retirement in Cambodia. 𝐂𝐒𝐓 Cambodia, 𝐶ampot Cambodia, Phnom Penh Cambodia, Battambang Cambodia, and 𝐶siem Reap Cambodia. These are the places we'll rank for you. If we missed anywhere of interest to you, please let us know for future visits. Here are the ones that didn't make the list. 𝐂𝐻. 𝐂𝐻 has pink, clear water, stub-nosed dolphins that Chung Hoi wanted to see. When we come back to Cambodia with more time, we'll visit here. It's better for long weekend exploration, but unlikely to be a retirement tour choice for many people. Koh Rong, expensive resort island with very little normal life infrastructure. You could spend up to a week or even 2 here for glorious, expensive relaxation. But it's unlikely to have enough going on for most people to consider it as a retirement destination. 𝐶ukhonville. This is a large, relatively newer coastal town with no colonial era character like Phnom Penh. The pace of construction seems to place unmanaged foreign-influenced development above the daily quality of life of its residents. So we'll not recommend it for your retirement consideration. However, you might find yourself here as a means to transfer to Koh Rong Island, which I mentioned before. Next time we are in Cambodia, we may take a glorious, unbounded time tour around the rest of Cambodia and stop and enjoy a day or two whenever the mood strikes at the above places and maybe others. But this report focuses on finding the best place to retire in Cambodia. So after feasibility research, these 5 made the list. I've already mentioned them: 𝐂𝐒𝐄, 𝐶ampot, Phnom Penh, Battambang, and 𝐶siem Reap. There's a Google map here, and you can see the order that we visited them. Just click the link below the video. We crossed into Cambodge from Vietnam on the southernmost border. We crossed into Cambodia after we completed our retired chief research, reports, and videos for Vietnam. It was time to do Cambodia. We save money by moving slowly on the ground across the country and cross borders by land instead of airports whenever possible. I do not leave a country until I've seen everything I want to, or my visa runs out, whichever happens first. For example, after seeing everything we wanted in Vietnam, we crossed into Cambodia at the southern land border. By avoiding airports in our world travels, we reduce our carbon footprint and we save money on travel. I've written a report that teaches how to tour the world for less than it costs to stay home. There's a link for that also. So once you have shortlisted your best places to retire cheap in whatever country, grab any retire cheap reports we have for that country. Here are the published reports so far, links provided. They will teach you the cheapest way to move around the world so you can conduct site visits to your most likely retirement destinations before making a final decision. Okay, now that you know where we visited in Cambodia, I'll rank the top places according to my criteria, cultural explorer. As I said, there's 3 separate lists of best places to live in Cambodia: cultural explorer, action adventurer, and rural self-reliance. If you're interested in 2 or more criteria, look for a place that ranks well on both lists. Also, please share any ideas you have with me about how to improve my ranking system. Since I'm a cultural explorer, I'll start with a ranking of that. Top places to retire in Cambodia for a cultural explorer. I've already given you the first 3, 𝐶siem Reap, 𝐶ampot, and Battambang. But let me tell you why on the first 5. 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵. There's a link here to the full Retire Cheap report, but here's a short paragraph to give you a taste. 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵 with nearby Angkor Wat is a culturally rich area of Cambodia adjacent to the largest temple complex in the world. 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵 Old Town City Center is a delight for cultural explorers with an abundance of international restaurant choices, grocery stores with imported foods and booze, and one of the highest per capita incomes in Cambodia because of all the tourism money floating around to see Angkor Wat. There are many English and many other language speakers trained to serve the needs of the 2.6 million tourists to come see Angkor Wat each year. Yet local salaries have remained low compared to many other parts of Southeast Asia, meaning you will find many restaurants outside the city center serving delicious Khmer foods, or Cambodian foods, to locals at about the same price you would see in other parts of Cambodia. The 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵 Retire Cheap report shows where to get furnished Western-style apartments in the range of $300 to $500. There's a larger, more diverse nightlife than many parts of Cambodia, but you can still find 50-cent draft beers sold in frozen mugs. There are expat Facebook pages that will help you adjust to life in 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵. There are malls, restaurants, exploration, a beautiful walkway on the waterfront, riverfront, arts and crafts markets, cheap open-air markets to buy groceries, riverside food carts, and a nearby lake with cultural aspects likely to keep this town fairly interesting for a cultural explorer like me. Okay, number 2. My number 2 ranking is Camp Pot. Retire Cheap report link here. My second choice as a cultural explorer would probably be Camp Pot. Camp Pot also seemed to be the first choice for many expats living in Cambodia. 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵 seemed like it had more temporary tourists just there to see the temples. It may have had a bunch of expats living there, but it was hard to tell with so many tourists walking around. Whereas Camp Pot had a bunch of foreigners that had moved there and started businesses in the city center. So the community had more of a permanent international influence than other parts of Cambodia. Plus it had Westerners walking around the city center that you could just strike up conversations with if they spoke English, which many did. Where are you from? How long have you been here? And that sort of thing. The city center is small and compact, so you could walk everywhere in town. You don't need a car. But it is next to a large mountain range where you can hike, and there's a large river where people go kayaking. Yet culturally, it was interesting because the world is living there. There are expats from all over the world living in harmony with locals, so it felt very rich and diverse in culture, even though it didn't have all the temples nearby, like in 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵. Camp Pot is one of the most relaxing places I've ever been. Finally, you can catch the bus to �𝐴𝐻 Beach for $3, and it takes 40 minutes to get there. And so you have a nearby beach to Camp Pot. I'll talk more about the 𝐴𝐻 Beach in a moment. But number 3, Battambang. Battambang is almost as slow and easy as Camp Pot, but doesn't attract as many tourists as 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵 or as many expats as Camp Pot. With what seem to be fewer foreign expats starting restaurants in Battambang as compared to Camp Pot, you would think the international food choices would be highly limited. But there are at least 10 restaurants that we found on the restaurant row and nearby that had large international influences, many that were actually run by foreigners. You'll have to pay a little more for the international food choices, but the prices seemed a little lower in than in 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵. There seemed to be more temples here than Camp Pot, and there was a university influence in the city. Overall, the cultural influence felt more pure Cambodian and less international, which could be a good thing if you want to immerse yourself in a local culture less influenced by all the expats and tourists. You'll need to integrate with the locals and to find your own fun in this town, but that just might be your cup of tea. Read the Battambang Retire Cheap report for more details. Okay, number 4, Phnom Penh. In terms of culture, Phnom Penh is second only to 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵. But unlike 𝐶𝐬𝐵 𝐸𝐵, Phnom Penh has all the challenges of a large city. The pollution is excessive, the roads are a mess at rush hour, and the poverty can be in your face in some areas of town. It's also typical of larger cities in Southeast Asia in terms of crime and prostitution. Rents also have a huge range from about 200 to 1,000 per month. The street food seems a little more expensive than other parts of Cambodia also. Some of the expats that call Phnom Penh home are not retired but are here on work permits. The city is also a little spread out and the buses don't seem to run as close by or as often as you would need for efficiency. But you can get a Cambodian tuk-tuk, so go everywhere for a few dollars using a smartphone app, link provided in the Retired Cheap report. I almost made Phnom Penh my last choice for Cambodia, but I think I'd rather live here than 𝐂𝐻 Beach, because there is much going on in Phnom Penh in cultural opportunities and international foods. Plus, I could live in Kampot and only be a short $3 bus ride from 𝐂𝐻, which I would prefer over living in 𝐂𝐻. So I'm putting Phnom Penh ahead of 𝐂𝐻. Number 5 is 𝐂𝐻 Beach. 𝐂𝐻 would be my last choice of the 5 we visited for retiring in Cambodia. It is just a little short on culture for my taste. It is just a little village on the beach. It would be fine for a few days away from Kampot or Phnom Penh, but there's not enough going here for a cultural explorer. Okay, here's how I believe an active adventurer would order the best places to live in Cambodia. Top 5 places to retire in Cambodia for active adventurers. I picked where to tour in Cambodia based upon my interest in cultural exploration. So to find out the relevance of each place with respect to popular adventure sports, I did some research. There's a table on the webpage and you can see which of the sports are available in which of the cities. And here's my ranking of the places. By the way, the sports that I researched were mountain biking, wind or kite surfing, whitewater rafting, surfing, hiking, scuba, rock climbing, and kayaking. Okay, the number 1 spot in Cambodia for active adventurers would be 𝐂𝐻 Beach. 𝐂𝐻 Beach has some internet references to mountain biking, wind or kite surfing, hiking, scuba, and kayaking. And so it came in first with 5 of the action sports. Tied with 5 is Kampot. Kampot had 5 of the action sports, which were mountain biking, windsurfing or kite surfing, hiking, rock climbing, and kayak. Number 3, 𝐶𝐸m Reap. 𝐶𝐸m Reap has 4 action adventure sports talked about online. It has mountain biking, hiking, rock climbing, and kayaking, and so it's number 3. And number 4, Battambang. Battambang has 3 active adventure sports: mountain biking, hiking, and kayaking. And then number 5 is Phnom Penh. The 5th best active adventure place is Phnom Penh, and it has listed mountain biking and hiking. So you may have heard that top places to retire in Cambodia for rural self-reliance. If you go outside either Kampot or Battambang for more than about 5 kilometers, you'll start to find areas of great seclusion. I would recommend finding a place with a river access or proven well. Both of these places have great soil and a large distance from your neighbors and a bunch of privacy. The reason I picked Kampot over Battambang is that you would be just one of the hundreds of other expats in and around Kampot, and having many other foreigners around the area means you'll be able to have some sort of privacy that anonymity provides, which some people interested in rural self-reliance are trying to fly under the radar. But if you're not concerned about that, then either Kampot or Battambang would be great. So I rank those as Khenpo #1 and Battambang #2. Okay, thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Vagabond Buddha or our YouTube channel to receive future posts about the best places to live or retire cheap all over the world. There's also a video here that teach you how and why I've been able to travel the world for 13 years, if you want to find out about that. This is Dan from Vagabond Buddha. Thank you for stopping by. The world is your home. What time will you be home for dinner?